Welcome back to Figure Depot. Today we're doing a little retrospective review of the Funko Rocketeer Legacy Collection figure. This figure came out about 4 or 5 years ago, and it's just a really awesome figure. And it's one that everyone who's a Rocketeer fan was just hoping that we would get one day. And I've had it in my collection since it released, and I just wanted to kind of take a quick look at it before I review the Diamond Select version. And the Diamond Select version is an updated version. There's some good things and some bad things about both figures, but overall it's still really awesome and fantastic that we are able to have them in our collection. So at any rate, we'll take a look at this guy a little closer here and just kind of go back and revisit it, and then in future video we'll look at the updated version and then we'll compare the two. So stay tuned for that, and hope you enjoy this video. The Rocketeer is a Walt Disney film that came out in 1991. I was 11 years old at the time, and it absolutely captivated me. I loved this movie. It was so full of adventure and action, and just had the American spirit, and just full of life and energy. It was absolutely, I loved it. I watched it over and over and over and over and over again as soon as it came out on VHS. I think my grandfather actually bought it, and I watched it at his house all the time before I eventually got my own copy of it, but absolutely loved the film. In terms of accessories, he comes with an extra head here, and the head is Billy Campbell's hair, maybe, but certainly not his face. I'm trying to find it. That's an angle where it kind of sort of looks like him, but if you look dead on, it doesn't really get it. If you look from the side, again, it looks okay. It's close-ish, but I don't know if they have licensing issues where they're not allowed to use his exact likeness, and so this is sort of a softened variation of what he would look like, which, you know, it's fine. It's nothing to complain about. It's just something worth noting. If you were looking for an actual perfect resemblance of Billy Campbell, you're not going to get it, but it's still not bad. And the accessory, I have it, but I just can't find it. As I've mentioned before, we're renovating right now, and so I don't have access to my all of my stuff right now. Stuff's put away and stored while we work on different parts of the house. So he comes with a Mauser just like this, but of course in 1/12 scale. But if you hadn't seen it, I just wanted to give you an idea of what his gun looks like. If you haven't seen the film, you absolutely have to see the film. It's on Disney Plus right now. You can probably buy it on iTunes, and I would definitely recommend buying the movie. Or you can get it on eBay or somewhere, Amazon maybe, on DVD or Blu-ray. It's absolutely one of the best movies I have ever seen, and I never get tired of watching it. So definitely I would highly recommend the Rocketeer film, and once you fall in love with the film, you're going to want the action figures to go along with it. Cliff Secord is a pilot, a stunt pilot, just kind of scraping by, and he has a GB Z airplane that he's going to enter into the national air races and try to get his big break and break into the racing world. And he has an unfortunate event where he comes into contact with the mob, and some things happen. I won't spoil too much of the movie, but he ends up getting tangled up fighting the mob, and he stumbles across this rocket pack that they have stolen from Howard Hughes somehow. And so he accidentally comes across the rocket, and then his buddy Peavy, who's his kind of mechanic that helps him out, and they've been friends for quite some time, actually builds the helmet, I think out of like an old radiator that was in the house. There's a piece of scrap metal from something, and so they just kind of haphazardly stumble into this world is never intends to be a superhero. It's just kind of an accidental hero. And it's just a great film. I won't spoil the rest of it for you. You have to go see it. Have to. The movie was not just extremely successful at the box office, but it does kind of have a cult following now. But I have no idea why. There's no reason that movie should not have just been, you know, something that everybody wanted to see. Because anyone who has seen it, pretty much, that I've ever talked to, just loves the film. And also, that was originally intended to be a trilogy, but because it didn't do as well as they had hoped, they scrapped the subsequent films, which is unfortunate. He does have, there is potential that they will revisit it. We're seeing a lot of merchandise come out now. So, Diamond Select has a couple different sculptures, and there's a cartoon on Disney Plus for children that is, you know, just come out. And so we're seeing a resurgence in merchandise and, you know, little TV shows. So I'm hoping we get like a reboot, perhaps, in a feature film. That would be amazing. So looking here at the figure, really awesome job they did on the head sculpt. I mean, that looks just like it does in the film. I actually have a full-size helmet. I have a full costume. I built my own jetpack, and then bought the jacket, pants and boots and gloves, and helmet, of course. And so it's one that I costume quite frequently, doing different charity events here locally with some costume groups that I'm a member of. So I love the character, I love to costume the character, and I love to collect things from the show. So anyway, I might do a video at some point of my costume and everything, so y'all can see that. So just stay tuned for that. It'll probably be another month or so until we get back in our home after the renovation. But anyway, taking a close look here, you've got these awesome boots. They have laces here at the top, and then right here on the top of the foot. And they have it's a brown paint with a nice black wash to kind of weather them up. They look very cool. Then we have these tan pants, these aviation or even like horse riding style pants. And they have a wash as well. And the jacket actually does not have, I mean, it has a slight wash on the sleeves, but not on this chest piece here. And this is not removable. The new figure from Diamond Select, actually, the jetpack is removable. So you can pop the jetpack off, and then in the film, sometimes he walks around with this top couple buttons kind of flopped over. And so you can put the unmasked head on, pop the jetpack off, and then stick him on a motorcycle, because he rides a motorcycle some in the film. So you can kind of get that look that you can't get with this, because even if you do the head swap, you still can't remove the jetpack. It's actually glued onto the figure. So that's a cool thing about the new one, is you get more versatile looks out of it. You can kind of pretty much just get one or two looks out of this Funko figure, but the Diamond Select, you'll get a lot more variety. So we'll look closer at that once I review that figure. Now, looking here at the jetpack, you might be like, man, they got some pink paint on there. It's actually bubble gum, and you'll see the significance of that in the film as well. So I'll let you figure that one out watching the movie if you haven't seen the film. Again, there's just a lot of cool little insights and fun things about the film that you really just have to see the film to appreciate. In terms of articulation, the head doesn't look up a whole lot, which is unfortunate for a flying figure. You definitely want him to be able to look up, but that's about all you get. He will look down fairly well, so that's good. The arms rotate 360. They do come out to the side, not very far, just about a 45. And then we do get single jointed elbows here, and they will swivel as to the side, left and right, and hinge up and down. And then we get hinges and swivels at the wrist, just like your standard Marvel Legends wrist articulation. He does not have any kind of diaphragm. Well, he does have a slight diaphragm joint, but it's hindered by the rocket pack and all this stuff. You just can't really get much out of it. It's essentially useless. He will kick forward. Not about 45 degrees is all you get forward. We do get a thigh swivel, which is nice. He'll only split out to there. He does have double jointed knees, but that bottom one doesn't seem to want to move, and I don't know that I've ever moved it. So I don't want to get too crazy with it, just because this is a more brittle plastic, and so I'm afraid that it might break. It does not have a boot swivel, but it does have some up and down toe articulation, and he does have a bit of ankle pivot, so you can get him some fairly dynamic poses with that, and you can get him in some good flight poses, again, minus the being able to articulate the head as much as I would like. So if you put him on like a Mayfix flight stand, you can get him holding his gun out to the side and get his arm out and, you know, point his toes down and have, you know, some pretty cool flight poses. So beautiful figure. Love the design, love the concept. They have executed it very, very well. I'm really digging it. And if you are into kind of the more classic characters and stories, some good news is that NECA is giving us the Phantom and maybe the Shadow. I'm trying to remember. I know we're getting the Phantom. We're getting a lot of classic kind of 20s, 30s, 40s era superhero stuff coming out in figure form from NECA here soon, so keep your eyes peeled for that. It would be great if we could get an updated Dick Tracy. I don't know who has the rights to that. It's a Disney film. They did a Disney film of it, which I really enjoy and watch pretty frequently. So I've made a custom. I think it's on my channel. If it's not, I'll have to upload it again. I had deleted a bunch of my videos when the whole Kappa craze happened, so I don't know that I've got it back up. I'll have to see if I still have it and then upload my custom Dick Tracy figure. And when I do the Diamond Select review, I'll compare those two with each other, because I think he's a little bit taller than this figure actually is. So, anyway, one thing that not having a figure of the Rocketeer to kind of play with as a child, I always used my Cannonball figure and just pretended he was the Rocketeer. So that was something that I just kind of made do with, and I was interested to see this version of Cannonball that we got with no lower body. I figured they would have given us like an interchangeable lower body, so you could just snap this off and then put a lower body on. I don't know, I've never tried to remove this. There we go. I mean, how hard would that have been to just get some lower legs to snap on? A lot of people have made customs, and I was curious to see if I could like prop this up on here in any sort of way, because that would have, he does not come with any kind of flight effects. I think what you could do is put a mast down into this hole here and then set him kind of in it, and it'd look kind of funny from the back, but from the front, you know, you could set that on there and get him in some kind of, you know, forward-facing flight pose. One thing I will say about this figure is that over time, the joints at the hips have gotten kind of loose. It's a very heavy plastic, and it's also, the pack is pretty heavy. So over time, like, you can still get him to stay put, but eventually it can drop a little bit like that. So just something to consider with the Funko version. I haven't played with him a whole lot. I've basically just displayed him. So even just being basically a display figure, he's still a lot of that articulation has laxed. here recently. So we'll see, I guess, how the Diamond Select version stands up over time. Alright, for a couple quick size comparisons, here we have the Rocketeer next to two Marvel Legends suited figures. I have Martin Freeman's character here from Black Panther, which I just kind of use generically as a James Bond figure. Still trying to figure out what I want to do with him for a custom head sculpt. And then we have Chris Pratt as Star-Lord's head on the Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man suited figure from the 2-pack that came out, when was that? 10 years studio release. So would that have been 2019, I guess? Or 2018 maybe, late 2018, I can't remember. But anyway, they make great suited figures for your like FBI, CIA, secret agent, spy stuff. So anyway, you can see he fits really well right in there with figures of that size. For some more World War II era style comparisons, we have here the Legendary Riders Captain America First Avenger figure, and then we have our Mezco 112 Collective Popeye. So those are pretty cool, and sort of gives you a feel for the same era. The Rocketeer takes place in 1939, so right before the 40s get kicked off. So you get a lot of that vintage styling with especially with the helmet. It just harkens back to that era. Very cool motif. And so leading up to World War II, you see the influence there in the design and style. Looking at Captain America there, a lot of leather components to his boots and belt, gloves, everything, and you see that carry over into the style there with the Rocketeer figure. So really nice looking at those compared with one another. As I mentioned previously, I do costume the Rocketeer, and every time I go to a con or something and I'm wearing my Rocketeer costume, people ask me, are you like a steampunk Iron Man or something? So it's easy to see how they might confuse the two looks there. The Iron Man helmet has some similar hard lines and overall basic shapes that are similar to the Rocketeer design, so I can see why people mistakenly draw that comparison. And I mean, the Rocketeer is essentially steampunk Iron Man, so that's not a bad appraisal of the character if you've never had any sort of experience with him before. So I always find that amusing, but I certainly understand why that's the perception. And yeah, it's a really cool comparison. Now, pilot Cliff Secord's love interest is Betty, and Jenny Blake, and she does have this beautiful black hair. Jennifer Connelly plays her in the film and is just outstanding as the character. Very beautiful. And I was thinking about doing a custom figure. Obviously, these modern clothes are not going to do the trick, but I think that Jessica Jones head sculpt is a pretty good choice, and so I'll probably try to fabricate some sort of 30s era wardrobe that she would look nice in. So we'll see what I can come up with on that. Now, just to get a better idea of kind of how he scales with some larger figures, he is a bit smaller than the NECA DC figures. You can see Batman there is quite larger. Now, the new one, the Diamond Select, when we look at it, I have a feeling it'll be much more in scale. It's a little bit taller than this Funko figure was, which fits better with like Marvel Legends scale figures, which are true, 6 to 6.5 inch scale. Whereas the NECA figures and you can see this Mattel WWE wrestling figure, he's closer to 7 inches. So I think that there's a lot of suited wrestling figures that you can get. So if you're looking for some mobster style figures, you'll be able to use the Mattel suited wrestling figures to fit better in with that Diamond Select Rocketeer. We'll look at that closer when I review him. Alright, well that's going to about wrap it up for us here today. Hope you enjoyed this retrospective review. It's a great figure. It still stands up in terms pretty much of articulation. It does stand up in terms of style. It's a beautiful figure. If you're a Rocketeer fan, you need this figure in your collection. And it's just really fantastic. Beautiful piece, and definitely worth having and collecting. I think you could probably still find them on eBay, and I'm not sure what they currently run for, but definitely recommend getting it. It's awesome as a display piece. It's awesome for action figure photography. It's just a great figure all the way around. So at any rate, look for my Instagram later. I'm going to be posting some pictures, and I actually have some pictures up already. I've been doing some test shots with some different lighting effects and different photography methods, so I'll keep piddling along with it a little some here in the near future, so be sure and check that out. Figure Depot, one word, FIGUREDEPOT. And see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.